all their hopes on you. They are convinced that you are the corporate messiah, the only one capable of raising the family empire to a level of power that they cannot even imagine. You are the embodiment of perfection. But it turns out you have a dark secret. You hate the family business to your core. Your true passion is not the ledgers, but the movies. You want to be a director. You spend your days hiding in your treehouse, devouring classic movies, while your butler begs you from below to attend economic seminars. At 15 years old, you muster the courage and present your wishes to the Patriarch and the board of directors. At first, they object and try to dissuade you with speeches about duty. But in the face of your steely determination, they finally cave. However, the Patriarch, regretting wasting your natural talent, offers you a deal. You can pursue your dream, but the family doors will be open to you as long as you return before turning 25 years old. You say goodbye to the gilded cage and begin your journey. With capital backed by the family, you open a small film studio. You dedicate 2 years of your life to creating your first movie. Surprisingly, the audience loves it. You make double the investment in profit. This initial success inflates your ego to the bursting point. You think you are the next James Cameron. But harsh reality hits you. Your next movies are catastrophic flops. You lose money faster than you can count. You have to sell the studio, and the banks will no longer lend you a single cent more. At 24 years old, a failure and bankrupt, you return to the family mansion with your tail between your legs, carrying the humiliating weight of total failure. At the mansion, no one mocks your failure. On the contrary, they are very encouraging. The Patriarch gives you life-changing advice. He tells you to use your business talent to make money, because when you have money, you can finance hundreds or thousands of failed movies and keep dreaming. You follow the advice and take control of a family subsidiary. You are like a shark in a goldfish pond. You restructure, brutally cut your losses without mercy, and invest in advanced technology. The results are terrifying. You achieve triple-digit revenue growth and turn the company into a market phenomenon. The board, delighted, throws a huge party. The celebration is joyful. Everyone is drinking, confessing secrets, and sharing shop talk. They discuss your movie, saying they loved it. That night, drunk on alcohol and nostalgia, you decide to sleep in your old treehouse. From up there, you hear the old board members talking in the gazebo below. At first, it is just boring shop talk. And then the truth hits you. They confess, laughing their heads off, that they rigged the box office. They inflated the success of your first movie to give you hope, and then sabotaged the following ones to break your spirit and force you to return. It was all a cruel charade. Rage blinds you. You stumble down and confront them. They are surprised. They did not think you would be sleeping in the treehouse. They start making excuses, but it is totally useless. Filled with hate, you jump into your sports car and floor it on the dark highway. At the funeral, everyone bows their heads, mourning the tragic fate of a genius. The eulogies sound like prayers, lamenting a rare talent and a future stolen too soon. There is only one person who does not shed a tear: the second brother. Or, to be more exact, you. Because you know well that this was no accident. You were the one who meticulously planned your brother's death. You suggested the celebration party. During dinner, you manipulated his emotions, talking about childhood, and it was you who brought up the topic of how the board manipulated his film career. You knew that anger would push him to make a snap decision. And long before that, you had silently tampered with the brakes of his car, a small mechanical detail sufficient to decide a fate. Everything was part of your cold calculation. According to family law, as the second son, you automatically become the heir. But your appointment ceremony does not receive the standing ovation that your brother had. Although you carry the Patriarch's blood, your mother was just a maid. All your life, you and she were treated like invisible ghosts. When your mother disappeared, no one bothered to look for her. despite your pleas. However, now that you have the power, those same faces that despised you bow down and smile like dogs wagging their tails to please you. You stand before them in silence and realize an immutable truth. When you are weak, people see you as a burden. But when you are strong, they call you a natural-born leader. According to clan laws, the heir must pass a supreme business test. If you fail, you lose your right to the inheritance. It is clear that the board and the Patriarch cannot stand you. They assign you the family pharmaceutical division, a sector that is not their strong suit, and that is on the brink of bankruptcy. You know perfectly well that you are not a financial genius like your late brother. You cannot use traditional business skills to save this sinking ship and convince the skeptics. But your humble origin, full of determination, has taught you to survive in the gutters. You take control and radically change the flagship product. You order the production department to create a painkiller composed mainly of opioids. You receive an alarming report from the lab indicating that this dose will cause severe addiction if used long-term. But instead of stopping production, you choose a more sophisticated approach. You decide to spin the narrative. In the reports sent to the regulatory agencies, you emphasize the benefits of pain relief and the slow and stable release technology, while the warnings are written in vague and confusing technical language, legally watertight but diluted enough to mask the real danger. You buy the conscience of renowned doctors to promote your drug at medical seminars and write sponsored articles using cherry-picked statistics. You train your sales team to repeat that the addiction rate is less than 1% and make doctors believe that patients with chronic pain rarely develop dependence if used correctly. All this becomes the perfect spark that skyrockets the pharmaceutical company's sales. Your revenue surpasses even that of your genius brother. You have completed the challenge to perfection. You return to the clan as a winner. In the hallways of the mansion, the air has changed. The whispers that once dripped with poison regarding your humble origins have transformed into a symphony of hypocritical praise. No one mentions your maid mother anymore or questions your talent. Now, they only speak of your Midas touch. You enter the boardroom to present your final report. The atmosphere is tense. The Patriarch and the council elders look at you with a mixture of personal contempt and absolute greed. They hate you for who you are, a bastard who dared to rise up, but they deeply love the money you have brought to the table. You project the results on the giant screen. The growth curves are so vertical that they look like a rocket taking off. You have turned a dying company into a money printing machine. In the face of the irrefutable evidence of the numbers, the silence in the room is heavy. They swallow their aristocratic pride. With gritted teeth and visible reluctance, the Patriarch nods. They have no other choice. Greed always wins out over prejudice. They have to officially acknowledge that you have passed the test with brutal excellence. You have earned your place not by blue blood, but by the black ink in the ledger. But they say you can't hide the truth forever. A board member, perhaps the most paranoid of them all, discovers the hidden truth about the chemical composition of your miracle painkiller. Immediately, you are dragged to the mansion's main hall for an emergency disciplinary hearing. The atmosphere is extremely hostile. Insults echo under the high ceiling. They point at you with trembling fingers, accusing you of criminal negligence and demanding you sign a public confession, accepting full responsibility for a rogue error to protect the family's sacred and spotless reputation. While their mouths move spewing poison, you look at them with total indifference. You lock eyes with those old men sitting on their thrones and finally understand everything. You understand why they were so desperate to bring your late brother back to lead. These people are useless. They lack the capacity, intellect, and courage to build a real empire. They are just desperate parasites looking for a talented host to later take the credit and call it strategic vision. You take a deep breath and with a chilling calm, begin your masterclass on corporate evil. You explain gently that their panic is premature. It is true the drug is addictive, you admit without batting an eye. But addiction does not appear immediately. Clear and clinical symptoms take months, even years, to become undeniable. During that initial period, any problem will be seen as a simple case of personal abuse by irresponsible junkies, not as a product defect. Society blames the user, not the seller. And when the truth can no longer be hidden, you have the optimal plan ready. Chapter 11. You show them the ultimate legal loophole. If lawsuits pile up, the company files for bankruptcy. This allows consolidating thousands of lawsuits into one, thus controlling the settlement amount and avoiding facing emotional juries in individual trials. The key point here is that the company is a separate entity. The company assumes liability, not the individual family members. Seeing their anger transform into curiosity, you deliver the knockout punch. You tell them that during this process, while the business keeps operating legally, and before the shit hits the fan, the strategy is simple: bleed the beast dry. They must drain the company's money through massive dividends, bonuses, and inflated salaries, transferring those funds to hidden personal accounts. If things get ugly, the company admits guilt, pays a civil fine, and closes. The corporate husk will die and take the punishment, but the real money will be stashed safely in the family's pockets. Upon hearing this, you watch the moral outrage in their eyes vanish instantly and be replaced by a familiar look of greed. Your speech acts like gasoline on an open flame. Instead of indignation now, you see a bonfire of pure greed burning in the eyes of the board members. They regain their arrogant composure and continue with their charade of wisdom. With a patronizing smile, they tell you that they had already foreseen that solution from the beginning. They assure you that this whole ordeal was nothing more than a final test to measure your reaction time in the face of a deadly crisis. You nod with false humility, praising their supposed superior intelligence, but inside you feel like puking. To you, they are nothing more than fattened parasites, feeding off other people's talent. Capitalizing on their euphoria, you propose expanding operations aggressively using methods that skirt the law. The board, blinded by the promise of more gold, agrees to everything. You begin a massive bribery campaign. You hand out fat envelopes to government officials and local mayors to get construction permits in record time, bypassing all environmental and health impact assessments. But you do not stop there. You create a complex network of shell companies that act as exclusive suppliers for your own company, inflating the costs of medical supplies to siphon off millions tax-free into accounts in tax havens. You also implement predatory pricing practices to drive small local pharmacies out of business and then buy their remains for pennies on the dollar. Money flows like a raging river. However, as you look at the ledgers, you realize that the legal market, no matter how corrupt, has a ceiling. Your eyes then settle on untapped territory, a sector that handles amounts of cash that would make a central bank blush. The drug cartels. According to the most conservative estimates, the illegal drug market worldwide generates between $300 and $500 billion a year. It is an ocean of liquidity that never runs dry. If you manage to capture even a minuscule fraction of that flow, we would be talking about a colossal fortune that would put your pharmaceutical profits to shame. But you are not crazy. You have no intention of getting your hands dirty selling the merchandise on street corners. Nor do you have, for the moment, enough military force to subdue the cartels and direct them from the shadows. That future may come, but today is not that day. However, you have something they desperately need: financial hygiene. You decide to turn the family private bank into the most efficient laundromat in the world. With a signature, you relax compliance protocols and disable automatic alerts on suspicious transactions. You create a silent highway for their blood-stained bills to turn into immaculate digital assets. Thanks to you, billions of dollars enter the legal system squeaky clean. Business booms, but dirty money always brings noise. Soon, the walls of the mansion begin to whisper. You discover that there are dissidents in your own blood. Some moralistic relatives cannot stand the source of this new wealth. Worse yet, your spies inform you that some idiots plan to leak documents to the press to expose the operation and save the family honor. Of course, you do not sit idly by, watching how they destroy your work. There is no room for betrayal. You act with surgical speed. Suddenly, a series of unfortunate accidents occur on lonely roads, inexplicable brake failures, and some mysterious disappearances during vacations on the high seas. Fear turns out to be an excellent social glue. After the funerals, silence reigns again, and the family is once again united under one command. One day, time finally catches up with the legend. The Patriarch falls gravely ill, reduced to a withered body hooked up to machines unable to lead. Naturally, the throne sits empty, and you are the only one who can take it. Now that you have absolute command, there is no one left to hold you back. You break the last chains of prudence and go full throttle on money laundering and illicit enrichment operations. With an accumulated fortune that rivals the gross domestic product of small nations, you initiate Phase 2. You start planting loyal members of your own blood inside the DEA and intelligence agencies. Although for now, these sleeper agents have not reached the top of the pyramid, it is only a matter of time. Soon the ability to manipulate raids and investigations from the inside will be an absolute reality. Your vision goes beyond being a simple partner to the cartels. If you succeed, the family will reach a level of untouchable power where crime and the law are simply two arms of the same body and both answer to you. In a room flooded by the golden light of dawn, a man sits drinking tea with chilling elegance. His posture is perfect, emanating an aura of undeniable royalty. It is your older brother, the genius everyone mourned at that fake funeral. He is not dead. He never died. That is